Imagine it's March 1943. We're 23,000 feet above occupied France. Inside the B-17 bomber, trembling from the force of the wind, Lieutenant James Howard stares intently. His crew has just spent 8 hours in the air, enduring freezing temperatures and dodging German fighters to reach their target, a ball-bearing factory just outside Paris. "Bombs away!" the bombardier announces. 12 massive 500-pound bombs are released. But what happens next? Moments later, Howard watches in horror as the entire payload crashes into a wheat field half a mile from the target. It missed. What now? Was this mission a failure? This isn't a one-off incident. Out of the 228 bombers in his squadron, only 19 will hit anywhere near the intended target. That's just 8% accuracy. And honestly, that's considered a good day. Why? Because the truth about precision bombing from 23,000 feet was simple. It was nearly impossible. Hitting industrial targets was supposed to be key to victory, but in reality, it was a complete disaster. And here's where the story gets interesting. The American bombers had the Norden sight, a mechanical computer that in theory could guide bombs with pinpoint precision from 25,000 feet. Sounds amazing, right? But when these pilots took to the skies to face the chaos of war, the Norden proved ineffective. This precision device was designed with a perfect world in mind: clear skies, no enemy fire, and no evasive manoeuvres. But in combat, German anti-aircraft fire, smoke screens, and erratic winds rendered the Norden practically useless. Something had to change. Now we come to the critical moment. In October 1943, during a raid on the Schweinfurt ball-bearing plant, Captain Robert Williams made a mistake. His team inadvertently took a wrong turn and approached the target from the northeast instead of the north-south route they had planned. Instead of correcting their course, Williams made a split-second decision to use the error to their advantage. He told his bombardier, Lieutenant Charles Murphy, to aim not at the target, but a little to the side. Instead of fighting the wind, they used it. And what happened? The results were astonishing. The bombs, released from a slight angle, hit the target with unprecedented accuracy. 42% of them landed inside the factory. This wasn't luck. It was the math. A new method was born: sideways bombing. Let's break down what happened next. The accuracy problem was simple. When the bombardiers accounted for wind drift, they were able to factor in each condition that had previously been ignored. No longer did bombs scatter all over the place. Instead, they moved predictably, guided by the wind. What does this mean for us? We used the most unpredictable conditions as an advantage. When pilots and bombardiers started thinking about wind as a new player in the game, accuracy improved. Instead of fighting the wind, they weaponized it. It may sound strange, but it was this new approach that would change everything. And so, the real transformation began. Once the military realized this technique worked, large-scale training was underway. Experienced crews were retrained first, and soon all bombers were learning the new method. Lieutenant Charles Murphy and Captain Williams themselves became instructors, teaching others how to use this technique and fine-tuning it in real-world conditions. Long hours of practice, countless flights, and soon enough, the results were clear. Accuracy was increasing. Missed targets were becoming a thing of the past. By January 1944, when the war seemed bleak, American bombers gained a powerful tool: precision. When June 6, 1944 came around, it was the ultimate test. Allied bombers, now using sideways bombing, were tasked with destroying German coastal fortifications ahead of the D-Day invasion. These weren't just any gun positions. These were reinforced concrete bunkers housing artillery that could shred landing craft from 3 miles out. By the morning of June 6th, the bombing campaign had already done its job. At Utah Beach, bombing success was extraordinary. 89% of the German positions were destroyed. At Omaha Beach, not so much. This was where the hesitations of the pilots came into play, as they delayed the release of their bombs to avoid hitting their own forces. The result? Most bombs missed their target by 200 to 300 yards. The lesson was clear. At Utah, the crews stuck to their calculated release points. At Omaha, hesitation caused a massive failure. The difference between these two beaches came down to execution. By July 1944, sideways bombing had become the standard. It wasn't just a technique, it was a doctrine that would define air operations for decades. The raids on French rail yards, the destruction of German oil production, all of them used this revolutionary technique. As the war progressed, even the Cold War and the dawn of precision-guided munitions didn't make this method obsolete. In fact, the principles behind sideways bombing remain relevant today. In modern warfare, especially when GPS is jammed or unavailable, these old techniques are making a comeback. In the end, this story is about more than just bombing tactics. It's about innovation under pressure. What started as a mistake during a raid became a game-changing method of precision that not only changed the course of World War II, but also influenced military strategies for decades. It shows how necessity is the mother of invention. When everything else fails, sometimes the most unexpected solutions are the ones that win wars. What started with a navigation error over Schweinfurt continues to influence warfare today. This simple technique didn't just change bombing, it reshaped military thinking. So, next time you hear about a precision strike, remember, it all started with a mistake that turned wind into a weapon. And in war, sometimes that's all it takes.